Live. I am Dr. Erin Gravel, and I am joined today with a former student, Rachel Sorenson. And
Hello.
Rachel's a first grade teacher in Grants Pass at Parkside Elementary. It's her fifth year teaching, and she absolutely loves it. She's passionate about seeing students grow and succeed. And some of her accomplishments are being a certified step up to writing trainer, PLC leader, and union representative. And her coworkers describe her as fun, bold, and ready to try something new, which I totally agree with all of those from what I know about you.
Yeah, the bold. I try and rein it in, but there's lots of ideas, lots of things out there. So
Absolutely. Well, welcome. It's so great to have you here. And
thank you so much for having me. It's nostalgic. I feel like this is like old times. Like I will always associate you with awesome instruction at SOU and just being such a great teacher. So yay.
thank you. Well, I do remember the year after you got your teaching license, or the year of your teaching license,
When we had dinner.
when we had dinner, and I was really sick. I didn't realize I was so sick. Not that that's important in the story, but I was really sick. And you said, "Are you sure I should have a teaching license? Are you sure that's something that you should have given me?"
Yes. Oh my gosh. And I wish I could have gone back to that Rachel and just kind of gently shook her and said, everyone goes through a first year of teaching. Everyone feels like they're flying and semi-crashing the plane. Like everyone has that experience. Like you kind of have to have it. And that was an interesting class of kids, I will say. And it just, yeah, we all were living and learning. So I wish I could have gently shook that Rachel now and just said, it's okay. It's all good. You will figure it out.
Good. I hope I did something similar, minus the shaking, because
Yes.
it is something that
You were, I remember you were very encouraging and you were very sweet. And I remember you saying something to the effect of like, you're not alone. You're okay. Everyone goes through this. And I think that kind of actually, I mean, that's probably like your heart and soul with coaching and being a teacher yourself and just helping others. So I really appreciated that. I don't think I knew how much I appreciated it until after, but I can look back on those years and be like, no, Rachel, you did stuff. You taught, they learned something. They learned something, but I do remember that was a lovely dinner and I walked away thinking, okay, Erin said I could do it. I could do it.
If I say you can do it, you totally can do it.
It's true.
And you have.
Yeah. Oh, you're sweet. You were young he, right?
Yes, my version of young he.
Yes. The inner zen.
Yes. So let's talk about your teaching journey. What brought you to the field of teaching?
So teaching, I have always loved working with kids in any capacity. Loved like doing stuff at the YMCA when I was in middle and high school, loved volunteering. But as I've shared with you, when I was in class, just part of my journey, I have had some opportunities to go, whether it be down to Mexico or overseas, just doing some mission work with my church. And I always seemed to get placed with the kids, which I loved. I didn't have a problem with it. But in one of my experiences, specifically when we were in Africa, our goal was to start an orphanage and in that a school for kiddos. And one of my jobs was helping teach English. And I remember loving it so much and being just so empowered by doing it and thinking this is so awesome, teaching kiddos another language. And I thought to myself, I can do this right down the street from my house. I can do this in my own community. I don't have to go across the world to be a teacher, although that was a really cool experience. And I would love to do that again someday. But I just thought to myself, wow, I could really make that impact here locally where I'm from. So that's where it really started. And just as I was in undergrad, tried to plug myself in the schools as much as I could, whether it be reading with kids or helping in the cafeteria or just getting in there and wearing some different hats, as you and I both know teachers do. We wear many.
Oh, yeah.
But, I love working with kids. And my grad school experience, I was mostly in 5th grade, and I love the older kids for sure. There's something so special about, being able to have the banter and really engage with them because they're more developed. But there is something so special. Those are my automatic lights. You should see what happens when the kids, like, teacher, we need to move. I cannot promise that won't happen again.
That's
But there's just something so special about the littles and like hearing them say, wow, I can read, or wow, I'm a reader. And so I don't know my journey holds as far as teaching other grades. I'm definitely interested in moving around, but I love primary. I know you taught, were you kinder and first or just kinder?
I was kinder and first, and one year I looped from kindergarten up to first, and that was fun.
Oh, so fun. So I love it. It's a very fun and rewarding job. Different this year for sure. Still rewarding and fun in different ways, but it's been a whole new learning curve.
Yeah, absolutely. Do you want to tell us a little bit about how this year's gone with COVID and all the things that have
Yeah,
happened?
yeah, absolutely. Well, along with every other teacher out there, it was just so gut wrenching last spring around this time when, or March, April, when we had the news that we would be fully online. And that was so, so difficult just because, you know, this is our heart and our soul and our passion, and we care about these kids and care about their home lives and what they're going through. I mean, there's just so much more than what's happening in the textbooks and what they're learning here. And so that was really hard. But I think in a sense, teachers had to really gear up, myself specifically, and think, okay, next year could look really different. Like none of us literally knew what it was going to look like. So I feel like the biggest thing I've had to learn and do this year is truly be flexible. And I so love my principal. I appreciate him so much. But something that he always says that I appreciate is, as of where we are today, because you know things change and have changed so much. So there's been tons of changes this year. I mean, the biggest one for us was the hybrid, which I mentioned to you. We were in from the start of school to, let's see, we did hybrid from start of school to about the end of November. Okay. That was one group came Monday, Thursday. So it was half my class, and the other group came Tuesday, Friday. And then Wednesday was an all day, or it was an online day. So we Zoomed with everybody. Then at the end of November, we were told, because of case numbers and how that all was working out, we all had to go online. So, wow, even as I'm saying this out loud, I'm like, there was a lot of change this year.
Yeah.
So we were online from the end of November to around the beginning of February. And then we got the call that we could come back hybrid, so the 2 days a week. And then we got the call after spring break that we could come back full-time first grade. And then they've slowly brought other grades back. So the biggest change was that there's change all the time. And I thought to myself, what are the kids used to this year? Change. So actually they were way more resilient than I ever thought a kid could be. Like I remember feeling stressed or feeling anxious about, I got to change this, or I got to tailor my instruction this way, or, you know, there's this whole online element, because it's not like, you know, if you're not at Parkside, if you're not at school, on your off days, you're not doing anything. We're still putting out content. We're still putting out the lessons. We're still putting out videos. So I often would find that I would work myself up or worry or freak out, but I was like, wow, there's like this layer of grace that I appreciate it from my families. Like they were very understanding and very gracious, and, you know, it was what it was. So it's, yeah, again, Erin, as I say these things out loud, I'm like, whoa, I have made it to June almost. Hey, we did this. I'm here. A few more gray hairs, but I'm here. So the hybrid was so interesting. I don't always get to talk to other people about like what their city is experiencing, but like in Ashland, are they still all online? Are they hybrid, or like
we're face to face again?
And
yeah, we have been, I think, for the last month or so. So about 2 weeks after spring break, I think all the days seem to go together. But yeah, and then students who didn't want to come back don't have to, so they can if they have that. So some students, the teachers are teaching in class, but they still have some students Zooming in as well.
Oh, okay. So I think we would call that a synchronous hybrid, or that's the term I've heard. Yeah. And we also have that option, which I think is super cool and inclusive, because we have kids too who they were more comfortable for staying online. So we have It's called GP Online, and it's my understanding that that will be an option. So, yeah.
Well,
I
it's interesting.
don't know if I totally answered your question, but it's been kind of a roller coaster for this year.
Yeah. Well, and it's
Sounds like I'm not alone though.
No. Not for teachers, not for parents, not, I mean, everybody's just like, oh, just some normalcy again. We need
Yeah.
it.
And
So,
it feels so good being able to see them every day. One, just the relational connection, which I'm so about and is so important. But two, it's okay. You're picking something up. All right. You're remembering the sight words. Okay. I'm seeing some progress. Yeah, we're at a different starting point. And I feel like, some of our own expectations or standards we've kind of had to put to the wayside and just be like, this is where you are. I'm going to teach you right where you're at. I'm not going to teach you where last kids were at this time, or last year's kids were at. Like, you can't take a kid to a place they haven't gone. And so I think, teacher hat, it has been good for me to just say, okay, what is the necessary need to know for today, content wise? And that's been a really good thing for me, because I can get so like, well, I got to do this, and day 3 says to do this, and it's like, no. No. Be flexible, Rachel.
yeah. Well, I'm glad to hear you're differentiating to the needs of each of your students and really looking at where are they and knowing that there's no way you could expect them to be where your students normally are at, especially in first grade when you're teaching reading.
And core
Yeah.
foundational, like addition, subtraction. Like, we are working, like our writing, like we are working on a paragraph. Like, if, like a paragraph, 4 sentences, like we are working on a strong paragraph. And it's been a big learning curve, but also I think it's been good for me. And I'm just going to speak for some other teachers I know, to go back to those foundational things of like, okay, no, this is the goal. This is what the content is. This is how I'm assessed. I don't know. It's just, I feel like if you could have shown me a snapshot of this, what I'm saying right now, in CIA to me 6 years ago, I would have been like, Rachel, what are you saying? Gosh,
You're crazy.
I know. What the heck? Dr. Bill Castro, what are you talking about?
I think that if we had told people 6 years ago that you'd be doing this as teachers, we may have lost quite a bit of the cohort. I don't know if people would have stuck around or not. But
That's funny. Well, here we are.
We survived. And it's interesting because you brought up the relationships, because I know it's such a big part of your teaching, especially with littles. I mean, it should be part of our teaching no matter what grade we're teaching.
Right.
But can you talk a little bit about how you build those relationships with your students?
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, I'm looking at my big poster up above. I wish you could see it. It says love first, teach second. And I really think that, and just from what I've learned from mentors before me or veteran teachers, and just kind of the motto of our district is just relationships over everything. And how do I do that? I think one of the biggest ways is just to make those positive connections with the kids. And even just a simple, like, we're talking about the check-in in the morning, something for those listening that Erin always did in class. She just did a little check-in every single class. Like, how are you doing? What's going on? And it could be anything. I remember sometimes talking about what I listened to in the car on the drive over to Ashland. Like, you just wanted to care and get to know about us and what was going on. And I think, that quote where people say, like, people will forget what you said, but they'll never forget how you made them feel. And so just trying to create a positive environment where I'm looking kids in the eye and saying, how are you? Good morning. And having that time to check in, that's been amazing. We kind of do it in our calendar routine. And I was saying to you before we went live how the kids will let me know if we haven't checked in. They'll be like, teacher, we didn't get to talk about the morning. I'm like, okay. Or we didn't get to talk about last night. And I mean, and I know, like, those are where some of those hard conversations come out of, like, well, this is really what's going on, or this is why I'm upset, or, oh, it's because I didn't have dinner last night, or those kind of things. And so I think when you create an environment where kids feel really safe, then you're able to have that heart connection with them. And so a way that I have tried to really, really, really make positive relationships is doing that with the families and their parents, because bottom line, like the first time a parent hears from a teacher should never be like a reprimand or like, well, this is what's going on with little Aaron. Like, no, you don't do that. Like, you want to build that foundation. So when you have to have a hard conversation or just something that's, not so easy to say, that it's not as difficult, because there's that premise of like, hey, we are on the same team. I love you. I love your kids. And, this is our journey together. And so I think, went blurry for a second. With COVID, it was like everybody, no matter what season or phase of life you were in, teacher or not, we all in some way were just kind of trying to survive, like trying to figure all this out. And so the conversations, yeah, they were about, reading or math, but they were also about like, hey, like, I'm just struggling like to pay rent, or like, hey, like my family is going through something really hard. Like, and it's like, okay, so we're going to set this to the side. We're going to put the Journeys textbook to the side for a second. And we're just going to talk about how I can support you, and how as a district, as a staff, how our school can come around you. And so, yeah, like at the end, I remember my principal saying to me, again, love him, he's just such a great leader. I remember him saying to me, if you feel like at the end of the day, you can say to yourself, you loved the kids well today, one of your biggest jobs is done. Not, oh gosh, did I get to that sight word sheet, or oh, did we finish our math packet? Like, yes, of course, I'm not saying content's not important. We all know it's so important, but I don't look back to my first grade teacher and think of what, long vowel pair I learned. I don't, that doesn't come out. I think, I'm like A-E-I-O-U. I think back to, oh, she cared about me. She smiled at me. She joked with me. I mean, that's another thing I think this year has just taught me. You just got to laugh. You just got to laugh. You got to keep smiling somehow. And like, kids pick up on our attitude. They pick it up. I had a kid say to me yesterday, teacher, are you okay? I was totally fine, but he said, I couldn't tell with your mask if you were smiling or not. Like, kids are attuned. They know what's going on. And so that was kind of a hodgepodge of an answer. But once I finally said to myself, I'm putting relationships first, like that's when I think the content fell into place. That's when it was like, oh, we can do the math, and we can do the extensions, and we can have the fun, and this can be so joyful because we're okay. Like, it doesn't have to be this like, I know you know what I'm trying to say.
I do. And I think that that's something that's so important. And as you've taught, now that you've taught for 5 years, you're feeling more comfortable with it, because I will get to that. I do have time for relationships, and actually saves time building those relationships.
Oh my gosh. Yeah. If you don't do it at the beginning, you'll pay for it. You'll pay, just like, your joke about the check-in. If we miss a check-in, or it's a weird morning, or we're out of routine, or I don't choose to take that time, they're going to blurt out during reading. They're going to tell me, they're going to say, teacher, I'm going to my aunt's house tonight. Like, if we don't take that time, then it's, it'll catch up to us. So yeah. Wait, I can't hear you. Are you back? Maybe? I can't hear you. Technology. That's another thing I've learned this year. You can't. Okay, my sound is full on. I just heard you. I'm sorry. Okay. Not muted. Not muted. You're not muted. This would. I mean, would it be, it just, yeah. I'm only laughing because this is 2020 and 2021 in a nutshell. It is. I can't hear you. But you can hear me. Okay. I just like got a buzz notification from an email, so I know my sound's working on my computer. Nothing. Just make sure. Yeah, nope, I just pressed play on a YouTube. I can hear. Hello? I can't. Ah! Oh my gosh. What do we do? I don't even know what to say. What the heck? This is so weird. This is so strange. I mean, if you can hear me, then it must be something with my computer, but I'm hearing sound, like I'm hearing sounds on my computer. I just pressed play on a little YouTube thing. I got another email. I can hear it. No, I think you're frozen. Okay, I'm gonna message.